Risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 226. I am your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. To my right is the current reigning and defending Scholars of Wrestling champion, Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, what's up tonight, sir?
Normally, I would correct you and do the long title of being the Scholars of Wrestling champion. But considering how this week of wrestling went, it just left me as an empty shell of what I normally am. So, and yeah, this is going to be a very interesting show for me, just because when I look at this past week in wrestling, it just makes me look in the mirror and just question everything. Question how I look at myself.
Oh yeah, this one was it has its highs, it has its lows, and we're going to cover it all on this week's episode of Scholars of Wrestling. But before we go any further, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the big Saudi Arabia show that was. We're talking about WWE Crown Jewel. Before we get into it, overall, what was your impressions of this one compared to the Greatest Royal Rumble? Because I noticed that right out of the gate, for me personally, this show had a lot more going for it than, at least initially, than Greatest Royal Rumble did.
My immediate thought for Crown Jewel is just complete waste of time. This whole event, the whole event in general, I'm just watching it. I'm just like, okay, this is the perfect example of nothing more than a glorified house show. When compared to Evolution, which I could see them really adding it on to the pay-per-view rundown for next year. Like once a year, we have an all-women's pay-per-view, and it's revolutionary. You look at Crown Jewel, and it's just once it's over, you look at it and like, wow, that was a complete waste of time for everyone. And it was, most people look at it as like, oh, this show is just nothing more than WWE trolling its audience, trolling people like us, trolling people like at Wrestle Talk, What Culture, Cultaholics, Pro Wrestling Insider, everybody, all the people who make shows for a living talking about wrestling. That this show was the perfect example of WWE saying, yeah, we look at you guys and just see like dollar signs. Your opinions mean nothing. We can just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and you'll just look at it and just be like, is this all really worth it?
Well, let's not just skip on to the end and how we felt after that. Let's take our listeners for the ride. Because for me, when I first started watching this show, initially, right out of the gate, I had a much different vibe from this. When I was watching Greatest Royal Rumble, all I could see were the higher-ups in the big fancy chairs in the front row who didn't seem to be paying attention to the matches. And way, way in the back were the actual Saudi Arabian fans who were getting really excited about the show and were genuinely happy to be there. Fast forward to Crown Jewel, it seems like those types of fans were everywhere. Even the Saudi rich guys, I don't even know who you would call them, at least they brought their kids to the front row. So they were enjoying the show. It seemed like it was loaded top to bottom with fans, just full stop. Sure, there were some Saudi officials who were just, doing their usual thing, but it seemed overall like the vibe was so much better. Like the fans who really wanted to be there, those who lived in Saudi Arabia and genuinely wanted to see a really good wrestling show, the ones who were really, really excited to be there, it seems like there were a lot more of those types of fans, and it seemed like it really brought up the vibe, and it just seemed like a much happier experience for so many other people involved. And so that right away just hit me as, okay, you know what? I can get into this. Because no matter where you are in the world, I love seeing an enthusiastic crowd.
I think that's the only real positive thing you can say about this show.
Yeah.
The crowd was into it, and I'm glad they had a good time.
Yeah, and it seemed like, okay, maybe they're going to learn from the experience and put on a better show. So right out of the gate, I was starting to feel it. I was a little lukewarm right at the beginning, but after I saw that crowd and started feeling the vibe, I'm like, okay, let's see what you got, WWE. Let's see where this goes. Unfortunately, that didn't lead to the first match, the pre-show match, Shinsuke Nakamura defeating Rusev, as I think we all called.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I missed this one due to my schedule for the day. Again, this came on at noon our time in the States on the East Coast. So, unfortunately, I had to miss this one. Tarek, did you catch this one?
I did catch this one, and really, it was a pretty straightforward match. These two work well together. And the only real unique thing that came out of it was how it ended, where it looked like Shinsuke was doing like a slide to get behind Rusev, and what looked at first looked like a little inadvertent low blow with Shinsuke's head hitting Rusev's crown jewels. Shinsuke goes to the corner and does that awesome smirk of his, knowing, oh yeah, no, it's what he was planning. And we should have known better when it comes to Shinsuke and hitting men in the balls. And he's finding out new ways to do that. And that's how he was able to claim the victory over Rusev. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. Now for Survivor Series, we got Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Which I'm super psyched about.
Yeah. That's when in the long run, you look at it and just like, oh shit, yeah, we're really going to get this match. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Survivor Series is starting to build up, looking quite nicely.
Mm-hmm. So this is a good thing right out of the gate. And then we got the opening rounds of the Best in the World Cup.
The tournament. WWE World Cup tournament to determine the best in the world. That's the full length. That's the full length title.
All right. Do we want to go over the entirety of this right here and now? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Might as well because
okay.
The first round matches were short and straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best you can really describe them. There were nothing fantastic. They were generic as can be. And then you get to the quarterfinals, which with The Miz and Rey Mysterio and Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins. Those were actually the better matches of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong there. They brought it down. No pun intended.
Especially Ziggler and Rollins. Miz and Rey Mysterio had a couple of botches, but it was just a couple of slips, mainly on the pin attempts. On both guys, actually. Those are the only botches. Rey trying to do a flip roll-up, lost grip of the Miz. Just turned out to be an ugly pin attempt. And the final pin, when Rey tried to do a frog splash, Miz lifted up his knees and tried to roll him up, missed his leg, so now he just simply rolled him up into a normal pin, and that's what got him. Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, they've been having fantastic matches so far in the later side of 2018, so no surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the finals were originally supposed to be Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, that was something different.
Surprising.
It was two heels facing each other. I know most people were just like, "Are you kidding me with this? Really? This is the final?"
No one saw it coming.
No one saw it coming. And I'm a huge fan of both of these guys, so I was really looking forward to it.
As was I.
And then I had to step away from watching Crown Jewel. And I read the results online saying Shane McMahon won, and I'm just thinking, wait, what the hell did I miss?
I stepped out around the same time. Like, okay, they're going to be wrestling for a while. They're probably going to have a good, long, exciting match. I come back from doing something in another room, and all of a sudden, Shane McMahon's in the ring. I'm like, wait, what did I just miss? What's going on? And it goes on to win. I'm like, are you kidding me? What? How? Why? That's when it really started to hit me like, okay, maybe this is just a glorified house show that Tarek said it was going to be, which honestly, quite frankly, I didn't want to believe. I try to be an optimist whenever possible and say, okay, well, maybe he'll still deliver some satisfaction. Maybe he'll still deliver some good matches. And then it was at this point where I was like, oh.
I had no... After finding the results, I obviously went back and watched it. And my immediate response was, okay, that happened. That was this whole tournament. Even though the whole tournament was a complete waste of time, and other than just getting a stupid trophy, they weren't getting any title shots from this. No one gets anything significant out of this. So the fact that Vince McMahon, and from what I've read, this was the plan all along. This result was supposed to happen from the very beginning. So, as I put it earlier, it's just WWE trolling us, laughing at our faces. At that point, I'm just going, I can't be mad at this, but this is just the dumbest thing I have ever seen. It was to the point where I'm just going, I'm laughing because I'm just going, wow, this is so stupid. What? Do I really want to keep watching this? Do I really want to just keep watching wrestling in general? Am I reaching that point where WWE is just beyond saving?
And you know what?
At least under Vince McMahon's rule.
And you know what? When it came to this, the matches were getting so good towards the end of it that I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe this is my enthusiasm was actually getting up more than when we first started. Like, okay, I was expecting that this was going to go somewhere. That, okay, we're getting some good matches. Maybe this could all end up way better than we think it is going to be. We had supposedly we had a main event that we didn't see coming with two of the most underrated talents in the company. So maybe they'll surprise us all and turn it up and bring the house down. And then Shane McMahon happened.
It's like, and we know how close Miz and Dolph Ziggler are behind the scenes. They're part of their own like group of friends backstage. So we all knew that they were actually going to work wonders together, and they have worked wonders together in the past. So I was looking forward to seeing what they were going to do. I was looking forward to seeing who was going to be the one to actually benefit from this tournament. And Brian was probably one out of the three of us looking forward to this one, because if Miz would have won, he would have been put in the title match at Survivor Series. And then Shane McMahon happened and completely tossed it out the window. Sorry, Brian. You almost had your chance.
Oh, boy. Yeah, this... Again, the one thing that's keeping me interested is that they are going to have some sort of big, worthy payoff to this. Because to me, I can tolerate dumb moves like this if the payoff is there. I even heard someone with like an absolute insane idea that because they're dropping all these best in the world monikers, that this would be a vehicle for CM Punk to return. But then they announced just earlier today that he was actually going to be an announcer for some sort of streaming service for UFC. So
yeah, I read that too. I kind of laughed. I was like,
okay, that kills that idea.
Not even just, I knew that, I heard that idea too, and just the thought of it made me burst